Missionaries were the ones who laid down our borders and defended them. They laid them down. When they came and settled down, they built villages. And wherever the missionaries came, that is Venezuela. That life in the outstations and the hamlets, on ranches, in the open, in the sun, in the rain, going hungry, the first missionaries were heroes.
I was everywhere doing the job of three. I was a nurse, looked after the infirmary, visited the outstation, taught catechism, cooked. This, in short, is what a missionary does. The missionary isn't into a desk job. He or she serves people, the Warao people.
The mighty Orinoco, as French writer Jules Verne described it, is one of the most important rivers in South America. Born in and flowing mostly through Venezuela with the third largest discharge of water in the world. It reaches the Atlantic in Delta Amacuro state, whose main settlement is Tucupita. The state is the second least populated in Venezuela. Something easy to understand since most of its over 40,000 square kilometers are just water and forest. Orinoco, which means a place to paddle, refers to the Orinoco Delta, a complex watery network of hundreds of distributary channels and tens of river mouths that intersect like a maze. The first inhabitants were the Warao, who currently number around 5,000, many of whom left their original native channels for the city. Capuchin missionaries arrived in the early 20th century, setting up the first missionary center at the Caroní Mission in Araguaimujo in 1925. Spurred by the government that saw them only as a means to secure the borders of a territory hitherto inhospitable and remote. In 1954, the Tucupita mission was formally created out of that of Caroní, which, until then, had been a huge territory that included Gran Sabana, the Amacuro Delta, and part of Bolivar State.
My vocation was to be a friar. I came here and they told me you'd take care of the school. I worked as long as I could endure it. Then I asked to be sent to an indigenous community, and so I started to work with the indigenous people. When I arrived, on my first day, I grabbed a notebook and I started asking how you said this, how you said that, since there was always someone who spoke some Spanish. And I took notes. Well, I told myself, I learn a sentence a day, one that is short, and I repeat it. I repeat it, and this is how I learned a sentence. After a year, I had 350 sentences. By then, I was speaking Warao, basic Warao, but I could communicate with people.
This was a girls' dormitory. I was thrilled when I arrived. I arrived by myself, alone in a small boat, singing, asking the indigenous man who was handling the boat, "Sir, when will we be there?" "Sister, keep on singing." "Keep on singing," he told me. This for 15 hours. We got there at midnight.
When I was in Navasanuca on my own, I had to look after the area of Araguaimujo, which at the time had no father, no other clergymen. Then an outbreak of measles struck the Delta region. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. I brought some medical books I had, and I had enough medicine from an American aid program run by Caritas. I had medicine, good medicine, Well, I was there every day for several months. Every morning, I traveled to an indigenous area to take care of the sick, and then to another area in the evening.
When Capuchin missionaries set up a mission, the first thing they did was to open a school as the foundation for spiritual and human development, and a dispensary, followed by some initiatives to promote farming or any other employment that could allow the indigenous people to earn a living, thus protecting their culture, idiosyncrasy, and language. Many of them remember warmly and gratefully the care provided by the pioneers of the Tucupita mission.
As the representative of the community, I give thanks, first and foremost, to Father Damián and Father Julio, who were the first priests who arrived in our area, in our Warao area. They were the ones who guided and taught us. I was the first at the Araguaimujo mission. I lived here and there with the sisters, with the fathers, working at the mission. I came from there and married her.
I was 9 years old when I came to the Araguaimujo mission with the Capuchin fathers. Thanks to them, I know how to defend myself.
Look at Father Damián. To me, he is like a second dad. He was the one who baptized me. Their mission is to restore the dignity of the indigenous people, the Warao.
Many of those who first reached the banks of the Orinoco Delta died as a result of malaria and yellow fever. Others drowned in boat accidents in the channels. However, this did nothing to undermine their commitment to God and to their brothers, the Warao. Of those missionaries who arrived in the 1950s, few are still alive.
Father Damián is very generous. He has been a nurse, delivered babies. It was a dreadful thing, frightful. He lived in the outstation on his own, learning Warao. He speaks Warao. He knows all the local myths and the customs. He knows about the people, about the old and the young.
When the first missionaries arrived at the mission, they traveled by canoe. They were truly heroes. That life in the outstations and the hamlets, on ranches, in the open, in the sun, in the rain, exposed to everything, going hungry, those first missionaries were heroes. I devoted my life to Warao because the Delta is one of the places with communities and economic and social zones that need care. The Delta is at the bottom. No economic development, nothing. So you feel devoted your life to doing something good, right? Sometimes you tell yourself, what did I do? What is left of what I did? And what you say is that, in the end, what remains is bearing witness. You know what John Paul said? I think what the world needs is not preachers, but someone who bears witness. So this is what you do. I am there, and I can do precious little. So, as long as my superiors keep me here, I shall bear witness. I devote my life to the poor. I got a teacher's license in Venezuela. Then the Indians of one community asked me, why didn't I start up a school? I said, I will help you to start the school, but you have to open the school yourselves. Then one day they came to ask me for something. One day a wounded man came to me. On another day, someone else with a cold came. So little by little, I became the community's nurse. I lived with them, and my home was always open to indigenous people, day or night, always. I visited them, and the sick that I couldn't treat at the dispensary, which I ran at night because during the day I worked with the children, would come at night. Some of the sick couldn't be carried, so I went to treat them. They knew that I said the Mass every day. They were there, and I was in the house saying Mass. They respected me. That moment, when I retired, they respected it and remained silent. They would say that the Father is in the Namu. They say the Namu is like saying their chapel. The Father is praying. They don't say praying, they say giving requests. The Father is giving requests.